On YouTube there's a guy called Robert Greene who is in the throes of promoting his latest book that he's writing but hasn't yet finished. And he originally became kind of a little bit famous through his book 48 Rules of Power. And in that book he spoke about what he discerned were characteristics of the hierarchical power system in business. And so that book got quite a lot of acclaim within the American rapping fraternity, because they saw a very close simile to how they were being treated, abused, manipulated by the machinations of their particular industry. And so of course there is a hierarchical system of power in all things, and I'm watching it every day, the hierarchical system within pigeons and squirrels right outside my window. It's all going on, people. And my little boy Providence has been thrown in the deep end of this hierarchical system, the existing hierarchical system, and so he's having to find his way within that. And so from what I've gathered from Robert Greene's interviews, he spoke with Jordan Peterson and other people, and he's been trying to convey to the general populace the great importance of appreciation for all things in life, and mostly the mundane, or what we would consider is the mundane. Yeah, sorry mate. Yeah, just like what I'm doing now, walking, having a little bit of a run out in the elements with a good deal of freedom within certain parameters of society, but a privilege which he isn't afforded any longer since he had his stroke, which has kept him pretty well housebound. So he looks out of his window at people walking their dogs, and he's wondering, are these people really appreciating what they've got? And so the main premise of the book is about that, and it's coming from his pain. It's coming from other people's privileges, which used to be his privilege, which probably at the time when he had those privileges he never appreciated to the full degree that he does now when he no longer has them. And so that's the crux of this video, people, the levels of appreciation. Now, there was a man that I was loosely acquainted with over the years, and he, within the last year and a half, he died of cancer. And whilst he was dying of cancer, he would convey to the small group of friends and family members who were convened in the house at any given time, if he found the energy to get out of bed, then briefly he would speak to them and he would say, love each other, but you never will. And then he'd go back to bed. And that's where we are. The vast majority of people who haven't been on death's door, who haven't had the greatest of compromises via some variety of trauma, we have led pretty blessed lives these days, you know, in the Western world, we're really privileged, and we will never encounter starvation or abject poverty. We will never be seriously contemplating where the next dollar's coming from, because we have these social systems to fall back on, which alleviate that enormous amount of pressure. And so, unless we do have one of these life-threatening experiences, something that takes us to the precipice of death, we won't consider or realize to the full value the blessing that we actually have as living, experiencing creatures. How many people, how many of you curse or have at least something to curse every single day of your lives because you're struggling with this or you're struggling with that, or the world isn't living up to your expectation in one way or another, and so you're feeling squeezed and compromised? And so these little things tend to take over, and all of our thoughts and energies are directed to those negative energies, and they take away the beauty and the bliss that is going on every single day in our lives. The pleasure of eating food, the pleasure of having somewhere warm, comfortable and safe to live in and sleep in, and all these, you know, commodities that we accept as just being normal in our societies. And so Robert Greene is trying to wake people up to being more conscious, to being more aware, to being more appreciative of life. And so what is he doing? Well, he's just coming at the Eckhart Tolle notion of, you know, being present, being in the now, and the whole Ram Dass thing of be here now. When we are here now and we have a high level of awareness and we realize the fragility of life, we realize the fragility of our peace and of the stability within our societies, because it's not always going to be like that. And for those of us, particularly for myself, living in Britain, well, we are a nation that's never been invaded in modern times. The last time we were invaded was by the Vikings, you know, over 1,000 years ago. And so we've become pretty accustomed to that, and we take it for granted that we're not anytime soon going to end up in a war-torn country like Israel, Palestine, or Ukraine, or, you know, Syria, or any number. I don't know, there's probably 50 countries at this moment in time that have got some variety of war going on. And yet we can just walk around the street, and the only thing that I need to busy myself with is like walking a mile to the supermarket, because I want a certain variety of vegetables, because I'm going to make a certain variety of meal, and I want some parsnips and some turnips and some carrots and some new potatoes, because I'm going to make this beef stew. And so I'm walking down these streets, and it's not very likely that I'm going to be mugged or robbed or assaulted, and even less likely that a mortar's going to come my way. So we lose that vitality, that essence of the deepest of appreciation for life, which we would have, you know, thousands of years ago, living on the edge every single day. Where's the next meal coming from? Who's going to be coming to invade us and you know, steal our wares and try and ostracize us from our land, and, you know, all the rest of it. And so, because we are bored in a sense, then we look for something to give us concern, so we can, feel like we've got a purpose. I'm not happy that there are all these cameras around watching me. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, like lots of people are these days. I'm not happy that the government's doing this, and so you campaign, and most people, they've just slumped into a state of apathy. And this state of apathy is the worst state that you can ever be in, because you'll never see anything coming. You'll never be equipped to deal with any situation when it does come. And so you do really need to keep vital. And this is one of the things that the incessant propaganda of fear serves. It does serve us in keeping us alert and vital to a degree. Having a certain awareness of wars and crimes and victimhood and all these sort of things, it always makes us feel, oh, could that be me? Or I better be careful, I better do this and I better do that. And all my life as a younger man, I would be boxing or training karate, weight training, and all these physical activities, because travelling the world, there was always the opportunity that I was going to encounter something of that nature, and so I always kept myself on alert. But these days we can see around that the vast majority of people, they don't have any level of alertness. They've slumped into apathy, and because of that they have a deep lack of appreciation for life. And so, people like Robert Greene, and I suppose people like me to a degree, and all these people that are pointing the finger in the direction of awareness. The likes of Mooji and Sadhguru and Eckhart Tolle and all those sort of people. Just doing what they consider is their duty to do, maybe their pleasure, to bring awareness to people so that they will rise out of their somnambulism. They have fallen into the condition of automaton, just robotically going around their lives because they've formed routines, and then if something upsets their routines, then that causes them stress. Then they get angry because they've been caused stress, and then they'll create more stress because of how disgruntled they feel that the world is no longer perfect. Some of us, we have some sort of level of perfection whereby we can just slip into apathy and a variety of somnambulism. And so every now and again I think it's important that we do have a little bit of a shake-up, which brings us back to our senses. And I know in my life I've had lots of big shake-ups, and the big shake-ups are the most profound, and out of the big shake-ups come the greatest of revelations. The whole thing about spiritually waking up and realizing things about the world and about the governments and about secret organizations and all different sorts of conspiracies and crazy bizarre things. So I've just started to rewrite, edit chapter number 3, and I'm broaching this, how I woke up and the things that I had to broach and deal with, and how shocking it was when I first fell down the YouTube rabbit hole into Wonderland, and how I understood that it was an arena which could very easily gobble you up, very easily destabilise you mentally. And I saw that lots of people had fallen down never to see the light of day again, because they've gone so deep into these conspiracy theories that they have transformed the way they look at the world, and they have induced a deep-rooted resentment and fear because of that. But you see, what is very important, what we always need to do is when we go down any given rabbit hole, is to ensure that we come back out and see the light of day, regroup and assimilate that information before we go down the next one. Some people, they go down and then they end up in like these tunnels in Vietnam, you know, which the Viet Cong used, like rabbit warrens. You know, there's miles and miles and miles of these underground tunnels, and this is why America could never win that war, because they could never find the enemy. And so, you know, that's just I suppose it's just a little bit of a prompt for awareness, just to check ourselves, just to see how lucky we have it, and not to get too complacent, and to be very careful about what we are condemning, what we're judging, what we have issues with, and the things that we find abhorrent to us. Just realise how good we've got it, and stay alert, because it isn't always going to be like that, people. The times are changing very rapidly, and the way the world is going technologically, it's anyone's guess how quickly the whole world will transform. So I was watching one program, I think it was called how powerful people stole the internet, how it should have been a free-for-all and you know, utility for everybody, but you know, big business got hold of it and has manipulated it and used it to control us, and to vet us, and to pigeonhole us, and predictors, and all these sort of things. And so now we are entering into a twilight zone, really, where it's going to be very, very difficult to see night from day. And so that's just something to contemplate on. And for those of us that get angry or, you know, resentful to whatever, just try to balance those emotions out with the enormous array of positive things that we've got going today. Because really, if you stop to think about it, you'd see that you don't have anything to grumble about at all. And even though they are looking at us, and they are vetting us, and they're profiling us, and, you know, all the stuff they're doing, you know, to control us and to feed us with whatever they want to feed us, well, it could be a whole lot worse. And it's never been perfect. The world has never been perfect. The human being has never managed to generate a level of perfection outside that of the Garden of Eden, which was under the jurisdiction of God, supposedly. So anyway, I'm going to go and get my vegetables for the stew, and maybe I'll have something else to say when I come out.